not give up on your legal status. Many people fail to respond to RFE or file an application before the deadline. This is why we offer a strategy session for 15 minutes at no cost to you. Not everyone qualifies. First, you need to speak with our CARES team. We receive many requests, so we recommend you answer a few questions on our website, greencardguys.com. Our mission is to help people live and work in America legally. Go ahead and subscribe below and follow and share. Talk to you soon. What's happening? What a day. What a new day here in May 31st, 2024. Because just yesterday, former President Trump was found guilty of, I believe, 34 charges. Most people have like one or two charges. Yeah, that might tell you something. So anyway, just last night I went live about what I think immigration would look like without Trump. That was just a little teaser, but I'll go cover it in more episodes, more shows. But if you have any questions about that, what I think, please drop it in the comment section. But also, welcome to greencardguys.tv. I'm your host, John Ting. I practice immigration law in the United States, helping you point you in the right direction. Okay, there is no obligation to hire us. Of course, it's our pleasure to assist you if you do want our services. So please smash the like button and give it a follow if you're new to the channel. I do try my best to go live Monday through Friday, unless my wife wants me to take her to lunch. Or if I take the team to lunch. So just depends on those scenarios, or if it's court. Otherwise, I try my best to go live. All right, to answer your questions. But if you are interested in our services, like you just want to learn a little more, because I know I may have just popped up in your feed. Welcome. You want to learn more about our services, completely understand how we do it, how we get our clients' legal status sooner than later. Okay, much sooner than I think many law firms, based on what I've heard from other people. So go ahead and go click on the follow right there, hit the plus sign. I think that's where it is. Yeah, up there. And then so you can check out our link and more information later on. Okay. In the meantime, man, Trump is guilty. That's crazy. The topic of the day, aside from that, to stay on track here, the topic of the day, at least on YouTube and Facebook, it shows, is June 2024 visa bulletin. Okay. A lot of y'all are frustrated. We're frustrated of the visa bulletin. And I'll share my screen here. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, okay, the categories in a sense. Let me share this one, okay. And so when I share some items on Facebook and YouTube, unfortunately, the software doesn't have it where you can sync with Instagram and TikTok. So if you're interested, hop on see what I'm sharing. It is greencardguys.tv. All right. So even though we're in the end of May, they've already released the next month visa bulletin. So that's June. They usually do that around the middle of the month. Okay, so here's May. And please continue dropping your questions in the chat. I try my best to go in order, so you no need to copy and paste if I haven't answered. It's because I haven't answered anyone's question yet. So if anyone's new to the channel, you wouldn't know that. And by the way, TikTok is trying to do better by hiding comments, filtering comments, questions. But this is about immigration. So if you're not interested in immigration, you don't have to be here. But welcome to the show. All right, so I'm sharing the visa bulletin of May to give you some context here. So F2A, most people who are maybe watching the show are in the F2A or F4 category. And I think people who are in F4 category already know. I mean, I hope you all already know. That's a sibling being sponsored by a U.S. citizen. That's a sibling, okay, brother or sister. For the most part, the average after the petition, and you look at phase 2, it's about an average 10-year wait time. Of course, it depends on your country of nationality. But for F2A, I'm just going to focus on that because for now, unless someone else asks me a different category. All right, but F2A, if you're outside the United States, you have to follow Chart A, final action date, okay? So if you're on Facebook and YouTube, you can see that right up here. Down below is chart B. Okay. I wish they phrase it differently for y'all, for us, but it's phrased as dates for filing family sponsored visa application. As of right now, per USCIS, if you're in the United States with a non immigrant visa status right now, you can um, file for 485 based on this. Okay. So that one shows F2A of across the board, actually. Doesn't matter which country nationality you are. September 1st, 2023. So at that point, if your prior date is September 1st, 2023 or earlier, then you can file the 485 application. Now scrolling up here to the F2A for chart A, it shows June 21st, 2001. Okay. I'm sorry. I said that wrong. That was a little bit worrisome. June 1st, 2021. So even that tripped me up for a second. So that shows for all the countries, China and India and Philippines. But for Mexico, it's a little bit more backed up. November 8th, 2020. Okay. So those chart A again is for people who are outside the United States. We call it consular processing. So with that being said, you might hear about other people like, oh, hey, bro, I got my visa, blah, blah, blah. You're like, man, that's great. When did you file? And their situation is different. Okay. Most likely. Maybe they're sponsored by a US citizen. If you're in F2A and you have a spouse, you're sponsored by a resident, right? That's what F2A is. But sometimes, for a good amount of y'all, you may have started F2A when your spouse is a permanent resident, but then essentially upgraded their status to that of a US citizen. And then when that happens, you definitely, hot tip here, you definitely want to update USCIS or State Department, whoever it needs to be, depending on the stage of your case, ASAP, okay, that your spouse is a US citizen. Now, that's going to be a tough decision, though, okay? Tough decision. I don't script this, y'all, okay? So if you're wondering, you always want to get like hot tips, whatnot, I think I'm always dropping a lot of hot gems here, but go ahead and give it a follow, subscribe, okay? Because this is very important information that not everyone knows. This is not one of those things that you could just Google search, like, what if this happens? And, now there's an AI summary in Google at least, but that's not always perfect, right? So if you have a spouse who's a resident that sponsored you and now is a US citizen, but the government doesn't know that yet, it's a strategy call whether to update them or not. It's a tough decision, especially when you have a child that's included in the application. Okay. Because some people didn't know that if the government now knows, which they should know, but sometimes they don't move it to a different track, okay, the pathway. If they don't know that your permanent resident spouse is now a citizen, okay, or once they do know, then your child is no longer included in your current process, okay? The US citizen spouse will now need to file a new petition, and that's because that's considered immediate relative. And yeah, that's going to restart the process. That's the thing for your child. So a lot of people don't know that. So it's I don't want to call it game time decision. It's one of those like you have to think about it in advance. Really before like at the time that your spouse who's a resident is considering to become a citizen. Um, in general, for me, I recommend to just go ahead and apply to become a citizen. It's a lot easier to make that decision if you don't have a child included in the application. But when you do have a child included in the application originally, that's a tough decision because some people don't have another family member or grandparent to help out wherever your child is at or wherever you live, right? So, or like an uncle or auntie. So it's just some really serious considerations because it can be detrimental to your case in terms of timing. So it's difficult. It's a little bit difficult to backtrack. You say, "Oh, wait, government, don't worry. Actually, can we just convert back to F2A?" Because yeah, you have to file a new petition. Number one, other than timing, the other consideration is money. I mean, I don't think that is worrisome for most of y'all, but for some people it might be. Um, I mean, that's the least of a concern in general in terms of wait time. All right, so back to one other thing to connect the dots here about the visa bulletin in comparison. Right now, I'm in the May bulletin. Okay, let me pop this back on YouTube and Facebook. I'm in the May bulletin, but you'll what I mentioned earlier, those dates for F2A, Chart A, June 2021, and then Chart B is September 2023. Okay, let me toggle back to June. Okay, and you're gonna see, unfortunately, it's still stuck. Okay, well, Chart A moved. Okay, well that's good, but the Chart B is still stuck. Okay, September 2023. Okay, but if you go to chart A, it did move from what I said earlier, June 2021 to now November 2021. So that is a good thing, okay, for this new bulletin. So that jumped what, like my math was four months, June, July, August, September. Okay, 5 months, 5 months. Okay, don't judge me. So 5 months. Not all Asians are good at math. Um, So yeah, I mean, you would think like, oh, reasonably it should be like update every month's bulletin would update the prior date update 1 month at a time. Not necessarily. So that's why y'all gotta pay attention. If you have family preference case, you really have to pay attention because if you're another hot tip right here, y'all gotta listen to this. Um, I need to break this up into different videos on these channels, but if your prior date shows up and y'all weren't paying attention, and 1 year passes from that date, I mean, you're pretty much SOL. You pretty much have to start over. There is an exception, of course, in the law. There's usually exceptions, but you might have to start over. Yeah, that's tough. And usually people that call in and tell us of this scenario, like they're stuck. I'm like, yo, you're not just stuck. You gotta start over. Um, and then we ask, yeah, hey, what happened? And they don't really have a good reason. And it's because sometimes the person who's helping is like, the auntie or someone you didn't hire a lawyer. I'm not saying not every law firm is great at keeping track of this stuff, right? So, I mean, we do. I mean, of course, I'm biased, but we have really good workflow, calendaring system. But then the you got to put in your own calendar. Okay, don't depend on your sponsor who's in the U.S. You need to put in your own calendar. Check at least every 6 months minimum. Okay, just like for work, y'all have work events on your calendar. I mean, you might as well put happy hour on your calendar, okay? I mean, you got to enjoy your life. You might as well put happy hour on there. I know if you live in New York, you definitely put happy hour in there. I used to do that. You got to block out some time. It's serious stuff in New York. Happy hour is very important. So, but anyway, in all seriousness, put it on your calendar. It's that important. Okay. Some people don't know that. So I'm telling you all now. Okay. Now I will answer some questions. So I don't go on a rant, but if you can tell, I am very happy today. Now you can't, now to go into politics a little bit, I'm not going to assume President Biden is going to get reelected. Okay. I don't want to make that assumption. It'll be pretty wild if he's not, but given what's recently happened, right? Yesterday. Um, but at the end of the day, it's still important to go vote if you're a US citizen. If you're not a US citizen, do not go vote. Please, for the love of God, please don't. And even if your local, another hot tip, because I've had clients with these kind of stories, okay, that you go to the renew your driver license as a resident, and the clerk working there, the government employee, may say something like, hey, do you want to register to vote? Don't look at them. Don't don't even respond because you might say the wrong thing. Folks, do not depend on a local government employee to advise you whether you can vote or not. They're not paying attention. Okay, they're not immigration lawyers. They don't pay attention to that stuff. Please, for the love of God or whatever God deity you follow, or none at all, please do not even fill out that form. Okay, because in all serious and to take this a little further, we had a client where they did fill out that form, But on the very top, they actually said they don't run a registered vote. So, of course, for me, I'm thinking, why would you even fill out the form? But they gave it to the clerk, and the clerk registered it. Oh, so okay. There's ways around it in that situation, but still, just don't take that step, please. All right. As you can see, I can go on and on about all this stuff, but let me answer some questions. Hey, what's up, Fidel? Poppy, what's up? Jim, you never got your G1145 email receipts in the last 10 years? Well, you wouldn't get it every year, but you get your paper receipt notices on time. Well, what did you file? What did you file, Jim? Because a G1145 is the electronic notification when you mail in your package the first time. You're not going to get updates per se through your email or text every step of the way in terms of the journey. And that would be nice, like a company, like any other company that provides updates. But I guess kind of similar to Domino's. I'm not sponsored by Domino's. That'd be cool though, because I talk about them a lot about their pizza tracker. Okay, that one's pretty accurate. USCS is not accurate, but it's similar to USCS. Is that I mean, I guess kind of. USCS has the My USCS account, so you can check it there. You can check it your status on USCS.gov and just search in case status. But no, they don't provide you updates by text or email like every step of the way. So you're not doing anything wrong. It's just maybe you had an incorrect um, understanding. So no worries. All right, welcome to the channel. If you're just now joining, my name is John Ting. I practice immigration law in the United States with a physical office in H-Town, Houston, Texas. By the way, I am a Dallas Mavericks fan, so go Mavericks. We're in the finals. Um, that player Luca is, what do they call him? Luca Magic. Man, that's crazy. Doing some amazing things. All right. Let's see. Caribbean Queen. Man, I don't know why TikTok is hiding that. Caribbean Queen asked us our consult fee. So thank you for asking. If you're interested in our services, we only charge this amount. Okay. I can't say it out loud, but I can tell you it's less than a cup of coffee. Now, to be as clear as possible, if you're not interested in our services, but you want legal advice only, okay, I understand. We charge a consultation fee, a traditional consultation fee. It is 3 digits. I can't say it out loud. So you do have to go to our website, greencardguys.com, or go ahead and follow, and there's a link under our profile. All right, let's see. Myra, can your green card get denied if you say you drink alcohol? I mean, could be, but that's more so. That's more so when it comes to naturalization, because they have something called habitual drunkard. It's like freaking ridiculous that they even have that. But what do you mean? You say you drink alcohol? What application? You said can you your green card? So you're talking about your 485 application. Um, it's only concerned if it's a crime, but we've had many clients who had a DWI, not just one, several. I mean, please don't drink and drive, but you can still get a green card if you have a drinking and driving offense, um, conviction or plea bargain. But by the way, now you're talking about, well, I've led into the situation about crimes. If you have any crime, even if you sign a plea deal, okay, Trump somehow thought he could win it, but even if you sign a plea deal, okay, and you are a resident, it still can affect you. So just because your criminal defense attorney or the district attorney, assistant district attorney told you, oh, you can get it expunged or cleared out, or you can get it dismissed after you complete probation, it does not matter for immigration purposes. Immigration will know about it. Okay. One step after filing in any application in general is the biometrics. So they take your fingerprints for the purpose of checking your criminal history. Okay. So, but what I was saying about what I meant to connect the dots here about residency, if you have resident status already and then you have a crime after the fact, for example, um, it's problematic when you travel. Not for every crime, okay, but for some crimes. So you have to be wary of that. You have to be really cognizant and talk to an immigration lawyer, preferably before you sign a plea deal, and not just like the day before your plea deal is about to expire. Really, that's another reason to be on the live show, share that with you, because a lot of people ask very last second, and it's not free to provide that kind of advice. It takes a lot of investigative work because, first of all, I'm only familiar with Texas penal code, the criminal laws here. Um, so in that respect, yeah, you want to definitely talk to a lawyer ASAP, sooner than later. Because if you do have a really what you believe to be a really good plea deal, or your criminal defense lawyer tells you, and that's the thing. I'm sure. I mean, I can't speak for all criminal defense lawyers. It's just the nature of their business. Like they get a good plea deal, they might forget to let you know ASAP, and then by the time they let you know, it's like 1 week before it expires, and you're like, well, shit, don't I need to talk to an immigration lawyer? And your criminal defense lawyer should tell you, yes, you should. But so yeah, so that's another good reason to follow us, okay? Because even if you have a crime, I mean, sometimes wrong place, wrong time, okay? Wrong place, wrong time. Yeah. Maybe hanging out with the wrong person at the moment. Okay. So what was I going to say? So if let's say you live in California, we can't help but that, right? We can't. It's difficult for us to advise that because crimes are depending on the state. So we can point you in the right direction. We can find attorneys, criminal defense attorneys for you in your particular state. I mean, we'll try our best. I do have several different networks to point you in that direction. Okay. All right. So see, there's not always a simple question. The answer is always in depth, even if you didn't ask that specifically. Okay, let's see here. Hope you all doing well. Today is Friday, May 31st, the day after Trump got convicted of 34 counts. Hallelujah. If you're not happy about that, I'm sorry. I mean, he should have saw this coming. I'm pretty sure. I mean, he did, right? Because he spoke in the press conference already, right after at the courthouse. Oops. Okay. Glitz and glamour. How do you know if immigration has received your documents after mailing them? So there's several ways, and so I don't know if you've done this though. It sounds like you already mailed it, but one for one, if you mail it by FedEx or USPS, pay with tracking number. FedEx is included with tracking number. With USPS, we always mail by priority at the minimum, or I guess they call it express priority. Okay, I think it's like $7, $8, and then but in the package, okay, you can include, as Jim asked on YouTube here, you can include a form. It's a one-page form called G1145. You put in your email address and your phone number, and the government, USCIS, just picks one of them. I think is usually the text message where they'll send you the receipt number. So once you start getting a bunch of text with receipt numbers or numbers, you won't know where it's coming from, but that's most likely USCIS because there are a lot of spam texts in general, but it's usually just other texts that try to get your reply. So watch out for those, by the way. What's up? What's up with the folks on IG? Please go ahead and share on your respective platforms because there's just a lot of stuff going on, problems that people could avoid if they just had a bit more information. And so I feel like a good amount of these tips. I mean, don't tell the other lawyers, but I just don't think you need to hire a lawyer to get these tips, okay? But if you want peace of mind, you want assurance to make sure more likely than not that your case is going to get approved more so than you doing it yourself, we're happy to help you. Okay, it'll be our pleasure. All right, but I know everyone generally has a budget. I get it, right? Of course. So we're happy to help when in certain situations. Alrighty. All right, let me scroll down here. Leah, you're on F1 visa. Why so many companies have stopped sponsoring international students? Um, Well, it depends. Number one, it depends on timing. Number two, the current situation with the economy. Even though I saw a TikTok video earlier this week that they were describing and explaining stagflation. So I'm not going to explain that here because I wouldn't be good at explaining something like that. I can kind of give you the AI summary here. Essentially, is that people are still, even though there's inflation in the sense that costs are going up, things are going up in price, um, people are still spending money. So they call that stagflation. That's my short AI summary. So so with that being said, companies, especially the corporations, like the bigger companies, understand that recession is coming. If the recession didn't already come, it's coming. Okay. So with that being said, eventually people will stop buying certain things. Like you might start paying more attention which type of eggs you would want to buy instead of picking like the better quality eggs, which you can't really tell, right? They got all these labels on there. You can't really tell at the end of the day. Let's see what's. I mean, that's my quick answer on that question about the companies not sponsoring. But we still have companies that still have clients who are companies that are sponsoring. Um, so it doesn't always have to be the bigger company. In fact, I feel like it might be better to contact smaller companies, like if that makes sense, because I feel like the. I mean, I don't know what you're studying, so it's difficult for me to give you more specific options in that sense. But also timing in the sense that it's May 31st, so it's already past the H-1B registration period, which is the most common option if you're in college right now. But otherwise, there are, of course, other non-immigrant visas like O1, J1, but it just depends if you're eligible for those. That's the thing. And one other tip about being sponsored by a company, some people want to go straight for the EB for residency, but it's not that easy per se. It takes a lot of time in terms of government processing as a whole. It's like average minimum, or not average, I would say minimum a year and a half to 2 years just for one phase of it. There's many mini phases. Then after that is waiting for a visa bulletin to show up for your visa. Um, and the visa meaning your resident status. Okay. So and that depends largely on your country of nationality. Well, one part of it. Okay, that's the quick answer. I mean, that's quick in my mind. Might not be quick for y'all. Okay. Nails by Gabriella. You applied for a 601A in 2020, and just yesterday, your lawyer said you need another 24 months to approve it. What the hell? So that sounds longer than why 24 months? 601A right now is taking about 36 months, but you filed in 2020. So I hope you had a receipt notice because that is weird that they would say 24 months. Maybe they don't want you to call them asking about the case status, which, by the way, we empower our clients. We love to share updates almost every month, depending on the stage of the case when it hits a trigger event, essentially. Um, we love to share a courtesy update, okay, on the case status, but you can do it yourself. Okay, you need the receipt number from USCIS if you have a petition, for example, or 601A or 485 application, 765. It's the receipt number. You go Google search USCIS case status. It'll take you straight to the .gov website. Make sure it's the government website. But yeah, that timing sounds a little strange. I don't know why an attorney. So if you have attorneys that say like, "Oh, it's gonna take X more months," but you're looking at processing timetable and you're like, like, how do you know? What are you talking about? Where do you get this information? We take no offense because I love explaining data and everything like that. We take no offense. I train my team to say that we take no offense, essentially, and we're happy to help explain how we have this kind of information. And so usually for us, it's just we refer to our case experience, our trend internally, and also my colleagues, but also juxtaposed with the USCIS case processing time. Unfortunately, there is no processing time on the internet for cases that are brought. Okay, after it gets to National Visa Center, there is no timetable in that sense. Okay. All right, let me see here. Welcome to the show. My name is John Ting. Someone asked, it's Mel. What's my Facebook page? I think it's like / green card guys. But you can DM here as well. On TikTok and Instagram, I mean. Thanks for sharing lives, folks. I really appreciate the follow. Thank you so much. Steph, they closed your case before your first court. Congrats. I don't see another question unless you ask later on, but congrats on that. Now, something to keep in mind for folks who have a court case and it did get dismissed or closed out, please know that USCIS does not know about it. Okay, so you have to update them, or your attorney needs to update them. And let's say if your attorney or one of y'all update them, that doesn't necessarily mean like USCIS is going to send you a letter that says, "Hey, cool, thanks, bro. I wish that would be nice." Or even online, "Hey, thanks for the update," and they're telling you, right, or email. They don't do that. So, but I would send some kind of update with the court order, notify them that the case has been dismissed, and so you're asking them to resume processing of your application, whether it's like I-130 or 485. It's typically the 485 application that they may have. If you had filed that already, they may have administratively closed it or denied it, but usually admin closed it. Okay. All right. Let me switch back over here. All right. Poppy, can a person get deportation case reopened after 30 years? It's possible, but based on, like to provide proof, based on the government's ICE memo from a couple years ago. Okay. And there was a Supreme Court case because conservative Republican states said they want to stop the ICE policy, but that ICE policy is still ongoing. Okay. The Supreme Court said states can't get involved with federal policy in that sense. Okay. So, with that being said, that memo does include a provision that's for allow DHS to reopen cases. However, in that memo, it doesn't say specifically what they're going to consider in your file. Okay. But what we hear is they look at credibility. The DHS attorneys look at that, and also why you were denied or removed on paper, deported on paper, and also why you were there in the first place, why you received a letter to appear in court in the first place. Okay, they take all that into consideration. I'm sure there's other things to consider, but I believe those are the main things so far. But with that being said, people ask, is still like, of course, depending on the situation, Poppy, but you only get one chance to reopen it through the court, like a formal motion, when it's outside the 30 days. So we don't just willy nilly just file these motions to reopen. We look at your case. Number one, we make sure, do you have a sponsor in the first place? Some people have been married for many years, but it didn't have this situation with the ICE memo. But this ICE memo specifically states DHS has authority to reopen these cases or join the motion to reopen and agree to dismiss. Okay. So, Trump got convicted yesterday of 34 counts, but again, I don't want to assume that Biden's going to be president. It would be crazy if not, but yeah, if there's a new president, even if it's RFK Jr., I think, right? The libertarian, like if he gets elected somehow, he could change this. He could take away this ICE memo, right? So even though the election's in November, the president who takes the oath, or the new president, would be in January 20th. It's usually January 20th. You already tried to file, it was denied. I wonder why it was denied. If you know, welcome to share it, but you don't have to because this is, by the way, folks, this is public domain. So I can't go like my marketing team can't go back and delete comments. So if you're sensitive about your information you want to share, no worries. You can schedule a paid consult or just show up live the next day. Or if you're on a platform like IG or TikTok or Facebook, you can send a DM. Jim's said, oh, let me go to Poppy, your follow comment here. Bohemian government refused to issue travel documents. They say no proof of you being born there. Okay, well, that's a different concern. But yeah, that's tough. Where you may have to consider if your parents were born elsewhere or whatnot. I know like India has some countries have government record keeping issues. So maybe that's what that is. Okay, let's see here. Jim, you never had an email receipt for any petitions like H4. Well, Jim, it might not be by email. It usually, as when I mentioned earlier, it's could be by text. I think most of the time we do it also as a precaution, not just depending on the mailing tracking number. But we don't usually get by email. It's very rare, unless it's like premium processing. It would be by text. And it's not really a receipt. They don't send like a PDF or anything. It's more like a literally only the receipt number, the digits. And now I'm losing my voice. Uh oh. Y'all gotta drink that water, okay? All right, let's see. Switch over to their platform. Rajan RJ, I-130 minor child of a U.S. citizen. You're waiting for background check. How much time for approval? It's been 18 months. Yeah, so that's immediate relative classification, right? So you said minor child. 18 months is a long time. Is the minor child in America right now or living in America or abroad? Either way, it's immediate relative. So 18 months, something sounds wrong. Okay, it appears wrong. Okay. Or not wrong, but delayed. Okay, so sometimes we've had to file a lawsuit not just for the actual getting the resident status, but just get the case freaking moving along from I-130 to be approved to move on to the next step. And we've also filed for fiance visa petitions, I-129F, and that got stuck because the U.S. citizen sponsor does have a crime, but it was not one of those crimes that would have um, prevented him from sponsoring his fiance. Which, by the way, from what I remember, Adam Walsh Act. I think he's that guy in the FBI's Most Wanted show. I don't know. Do they still have that show? But yeah, law was created because of his son, from what I remember. And anyway, it's related the laws that prevent a fiance visa sponsor, U.S. citizen, from sponsoring a fiance, immigrant fiance, is related to child, whether it's like child abuse or neglect, things of those type of charges. Okay. Marley Diza Diza. What happens when your papers went back to NVC? What do you mean back? Like it got approved by USCIS, went to NVC, and then you had the interview abroad, and then they told you that the petition is going to get revoked, like notice of intent to revoke. Is that what you mean by back to you NVC? See, sometimes I mean I try my best to answer y'all's questions in depth as possible, but sometimes I have follow up questions. So I'm sorry. It doesn't. TikTok's not that amazing in the sense that it can like pop up your follow up comment. That'd be pretty cool. But if I clicked on your name and it showed it. Okay, let me switch over here. Noi Mamba. What about the I-730 bulletin? Okay. Well, that's not the bulletin. You mean processing times? Let me see if I can bring that up here. So I-730 asylee Following to join. Okay. 7:30. Let me show this on my screen on Facebook and YouTube at least. Excuse me. So I'm on the USCIS webpage about case processing times here. I selected the form number. It doesn't show you the drop down menu on the screen, but there's a long list of forms. Not every form is on there. I can tell you right now, if you're wanting to, you got a negative decision denial by USCIS, and they say you can file an appeal or motion reconsider. That's an I-290B, and it does not show up on the drop down on purpose. They don't want to tell you how long it's going to take them. Okay, so I clicked on petition for I-730 all service centers. That's the only option they give me as the average timing in a sense. 80% of cases are completed within 21 months. Yeah, that's stupid. I'm sorry for my language. It's just I don't understand why it should take that long. But that's not necessarily just because it shows 21 months for that or 36 months for something else. You don't necessarily need to wait that long because to file a lawsuit. And that we're happy to help you with that. Okay, Davis lawsuit. Because USCIS webmaster can mess with us and just put like 46 months. But that doesn't mean we have to wait that long for the actual decision. Like that's ridiculous. It's pretty freaking ridiculous. Let's see. So if you're frustrated, you're wondering, you want to make sure if you're eligible for a lawsuit, DM us, contact us. My team will tell you, okay? And if they're not sure, they'll always check with me at the end of the day. Okay, let's see here. Jahon D watching from Jamaica. You're asking me to explain the timing from immediate relative petition from the very start of petition to a visa appointment time. That's tough to say. I mean, I'll try, but basically, if you have immediate relative petition and your immigrant family member is abroad, okay, outside U.S., the petition itself could take between 6 to 12 months. I would say that's a range. Okay, it's much longer when the person is abroad. I don't know why. I have an idea, but it's not like I don't have proof of it. Okay. Then after that, petition's approved. Then you wait a couple weeks for the NVC, National Visa Center, which is consider them like a sub agency, a sub office of the Department of State. That is sub agency. NVC is where they would send you an email with a welcome email, essentially. So that's where they provide you a new case number and an invoice ID number. And those, it's like your login and password, essentially, to be able to pay for the next fee. Now, it's actually, Jahan, it's great that you asked this. I mean, a lot of information, but essentially, it's important for you to know these steps if you have a similar case because look, I mean, we've had some people call in and ask, like, "Hey, what do I do? Do I file a lawsuit?" And I'm actually like, I'm actually like, you. Before we even consider that, did you do ABC step first? Right? We asked that first because we wouldn't want a situation where we sue the government and the U.S. attorney says, "Well, actually, bro, your client didn't do this step yet." And so that, yeah, that wouldn't look good, right? Because a lot of we have a mix of clients in the sense that some clients have been referred to us by other immigration attorneys because not every immigration attorney helps with these type of lawsuits. But we also get some of our new clients are those that did not have an attorney to begin with. All right, so they're not as familiar with some of these steps maybe. So it's almost like we're walking clients, especially for these lawsuits, through the way, almost all the way, which we don't mind. It's just it was a bit unexpected because if they don't have an attorney, so that's why I recommend if you're stuck, ask those kind of questions. Like if you're not asking us, our team, ask another lawyer, whoever it is. Do you think that you've done everything, or you ask them? Do you think I've done everything I needed to? All right, to make sure it's kind of like going to the doctor and make sure you're taking all the meds you need to take in that sense. So anyway, maybe that's not the best analogy, but when you get the NVC welcome email, you got to do certain steps. Okay, I can't list it all. This is not a webinar series, right? If you're interested in a webinar series, a topic, then send us a DM, okay, or go to that form. We do have form on a website, or in the profile link under there. There should be one about webinars, so check that out. Okay, select your topic you're interested in. Um, Now, the back end of the stage, okay, after you upload those documents to NVC portal, cac.state.gov, then it could take like about 2 weeks or less for and some kind of officer to say you're good to go. In a sense, you'll get an email that says you're documentarily complete. Some people online will call that acronym like documentarily qualified (DQ). But anyway, these days they call it documentarily complete. These, I guess they call it DC. And that's basically telling you you're in line, your spouse, your immigrant family member is in line for the visa interview. Keep in mind that doesn't mean it's going to happen next week. Okay, it would be nice, yes, if they tell you some idea, estimated timetable. They don't do that. Okay, they're not USCIS, State Department. They're not they're not geared like a tech company. We ourselves, at Team Law Group, we really try to think of ourselves as a tech company, and that's how we're able to help you sooner than later to file your case ASAP, and for customer service support tools. Okay, so let me switch over here. I'm glad I see some comments here that y'all appreciate the information, so thank you. Tap it wherever you can. Really appreciate it. And let me see here. If you have talked to our team, okay, if you've talked to our team member, or at the very least you appreciate how I share information here, I love feedback. I'm always looking to improve. My team is always looking to improve our services. Please share your experience at reviewtinglaw.com. Reviewtinglaw.com. Really appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Some more comments, questions. Thank you so much for your questions. All right, Just the Prince, Guatemala. Oh shoot, did I answer your question earlier? Okay. Oops. Okay. Someone asked about taxes. Martinez Angela. If you owe taxes, can you fix or would have to pay them first? Um, are you a U.S. citizen or a resident and you're trying to sponsor someone? Is that why you're asking? So, definitely, for number one, definitely talk to a CPA. If you don't have a business, then you don't need to talk to a bookkeeper. I recommend a CPA in general. Um, but when you say fix, I think of amend. They in the IRS world, we call it amend the taxes if you file them. But you wouldn't be able to know exactly what you owe unless you amend them or update them in that sense. So you're trying to figure out like which one first. So just talk to an accountant. If you all need some accountants, I mean, I don't know an accountant in every state, but I can always ask. I'm in different peer groups, so I can find out for y'all. Okay, let's see here. What's up, Briggs? I didn't see a question, but thanks for sharing. Just a Prince, you're from Guatemala. Welcome. May Rush Art. Can a girl get a green card if you marry a girl overseas? I mean, when you say girl, you mean like legally, legally able to get married in a sense? I'm assuming so. Can a girl get a green card if you marry a girl overseas? So it's a little confusing how you phrase it, but is someone a resident or someone a U.S. citizen? Yeah, yes, you can marry someone overseas if that's what you mean, like outside America. Um, and by the way, you have to check that country's laws because you might have to notify that government in another country. So, or to like register it. Especially if you got married in a different country, like you took a vacation to another country, and then your spouse's case is processing in where they live or where they have a visa at, you need to update that country. You need to check those laws as well. So if we've had some people contact us saying like they didn't do that, so that made it a bit difficult, but we got it done for them, fortunately. Okay, I can answer one more question. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Fidel, what are the options when you overstayed your visa 20 years ago? No spouse, no kiddos. Um, Fidel, can you sponsor yourself through your business and your assets? We should talk more because ideally it's better if you have TPS or DACA. And it's possible, yes, to get sponsored by your own company. It is possible through EB of residency, but depends on the facts, okay? Because if there is no TPS, there is no DACA, um, then you would have something called unlawful presence. And even if you did have TPS and DACA, it just depends on timing of when you obtained that and when you were 18. So there's some math that we need to do, okay? And advice to share, okay? Thank you very much. Okay, let's see here. Okay. I got time for one more question. Smokey, are COVID vaccines mandatory for immigrants from Germany? Uh, if you want to become a resident in America, you still have to take the COVID vaccine, even though the CDC there's no emergency declaration anymore, and it doesn't matter which country you're coming from. Okay, but yeah, for immigrants who want residency status, you still need to take COVID vaccine, which I don't. I could be wrong, but I don't recall people needing it to to take a medical exam in general when they're a non-immigrant visa holder. So that is interesting. I need to check with my team. But when you want residency status, resident status, green card, you do have to take the COVID vaccine. Okay. There is a waiver possible, 601, but it's really everyone that talks to us about it, it's very, very specific. Basically, you have to have some kind of moral reason to not take the COVID vaccine, but also other vaccines. So I think it's ridiculous that they have that. So I just wouldn't mess with it to apply for it if you're like, I don't qualify under that in that sense. And you have shot record of other shots or vaccines, then it's going to be a hard argument to overcome. Okay, so I mean, if money's not an issue, then go for it, right? But I believe this waiver 601 is almost $1,000 to USCIS. And please, even if you don't believe you have a decent argument, but you want to try anyway, for the love of God, please write like a full page, not just like 3 sentences. Okay. Because you're definitely wasting your money. You really need to like explain it. And some people, we look at their file when they try to do it themselves and we're like, should have hired a lawyer in the first place. So I prefer that I don't give you a hard time, that you contact us or contact a lawyer sooner than later. Okay. All right. Y'all have a good one. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's Friday. I'll try to go live at night if I get excited, talk about Trump being convicted. But, anyways, y'all have a good one. Anthony, I see your question. Please send us a DM. I can't answer right now. I got to hop on another meeting. Y'all have a good one. Take care. Peace. Follow for more.